Welcome everybody to the Enagic Kangen Water Owners Group, a group to support all owners and distributors around the world, helping you not only get the benefits of the Enagic products that you own, or maybe that you've helped other people also purchase, but also helping you as a distributor so that we can make a greater impact. We've been blessed to be able to share Mr. Oshiro's vision and mission to making a positive impact in other people's lives around the world, especially through the Enagic products, the compensation plan, but also around the philosophy of true health, which has 3 pillars to it. Pillar 1, physical health. As we all know, there's nothing more important than that. And for some of us, we only realize once we get sick. Number 2, relationship, mental health. So not only the relationship with ourselves, the relationships with others as well. And number 3, financial health, looking at how we can financially support ourselves, especially in a world that we live in that does require money to be able to do a lot of the things that we want to experience. So with that in mind, got quite a few questions that have come through, a few different topics that I'm going to just be touching on today, just to make sure that I'm giving you the value. But as always, this is your call. Okay, so all you need to do, if you want to engage, drop question in capital letters, because there's often a lot of comments and I miss questions. Drop question in capital letters, and then everything else can be lowercase as to your question. That way I will see it, I will grab it, I will answer it as best I can in the time that we have together. If not, I'll answer it on the next call when we schedule that. So thank you for everybody jumping on and also tagging anybody in the group. Also, I encourage you to invite people to the group, but just let them know when you've invited them, because they have to accept your invitation. They also have to answer the group admin questions just to make sure that people coming in are owners and are wanting to engage in the community. So without further ado, let's dive into some of the different topics today. So one of the topics that came up was, what are the essential items? This was by Amy. What are the essential items you would need to showcase the Enagic products at a trade show? So with regards to a trade show, there's a couple of things to be aware of. Number 1, need to make sure that you are, oh, I'll just turn that off. You need to make sure that you, 1, have permission if you're going to use Enagic and Kangen Water as in the branding. Okay, in the policies and procedures, it does state about you need to get permission for trade shows, and that's just to make sure that whatever information you're going to be showing is correct and not misinformation and couldn't potentially get you in trouble. Okay, so just be aware of that. That's the first thing. So whatever your plan is, put it together. Let Enagic know. They're probably going to ask you to supply some images and so on, and go from there. Always think about what the person who's going to the trade show or the expo is going to be looking for. So if it's a health related expo or trade show, then naturally they're going for their health. So health must be a value. So when they're going there, they're going to be looking for what is attractive to them. Now, in my, I did a 2-day live training where we packaged it all up and covered a lot of content. There's a link here, you can go and get it on my website, and I go into a lot deeper detail and showing you different things around that. But the key is for it to attract people. So attraction, what do we think around attraction? One of the things that when we're driving down the road or we're walking down the road, what is it about the sky that attracts us? A rainbow. What is the power of one of the water demonstrations we do? Different colors of waters, their acidity and alkalinity. Now, that is intriguing, and it's also very, unless somebody's colorblind, then naturally they're going to see it and see different colors and be like, oh, what's that? Gives you an opportunity to educate. So my angle has always been the power of education, because people make an educated decision for themselves, for their health, for the health of their family, when they are educated. Okay, when they learn something new that resonates with them, then they're making an educated decision rather than an impulsive buy. So the more value that you can provide with simple, is the key word, simple education, the more you are going to help people make an educated decision, because you don't need to know everything. One of the things that I did was just have my stand out with different liquids, and I never had alkaline waters, because it defeats the purpose, because the power of Kangen water is not in the alkalinity. The power of Kangen water, as you may be aware, is actually in the antioxidant properties, which we can't show unless we're doing the H2 drops. But that doesn't really mean anything unless you're providing the education, because most people are aware of acid alkaline or the alkaline chart. So that's where you want to connect with them on the level that they may understand and then educate them further. So mine would always be pretty much orange, maybe going into a yellowy and then green. But then the Kangen water would be the only one that was blue stroke purple. That would be the only one. So people are like, whoa. And naturally, you can have fun with that. You can communicate with that. But the power is in there. The next thing is I advise you take your ionizer, because if you imagine going there, you'd want to see, what does the product look like? How would it sit on my bench? How would it attach? All these questions that if you were somebody who didn't know that you would be asking, then try to eliminate them. So people like to touch and feel. It's the same thing as when you've got supplementation or medication, or you go into a naturopath clinic. People grab the containers, and people often read the ingredients, and most people have no idea, because they wouldn't even read the ingredients on a Mars bar or a Boost bar or something like that. But all of a sudden it's a health, they're interested. So people want to be able to see and touch things. And when you're explaining, the water travels through here, goes through the filter, then channels over the plates, which then it gets ionized and comes out the other end, and it's now Kangen water, or 2.5 or 11.5, whatever it would be. They're on a journey with you as you're explaining it, and they can see the product rather than trying to imagine something or seeing a picture of it and trying to imagine it. So my attitude was always that when I got my my K8, my focus was to help other people experience the value of it, irrelevant of whether I was going to get paid by Enagic or not. I just wanted to share it with others. So in me choosing to view my product, my KA, as a way to help other people, I just detached it and took it. And I wasn't worried about what necessarily happened to it. Obviously, I didn't want to break it, but it was there to help other people. So if you're wanting to truly help other people, that's a great way to go. Naturally, you've got a lot of walls around you, usually with at a trade show, an expo. So think about the content that will go on the walls. But just make sure it's compliant. That means no health claims, no matter what you've experienced. We're actually it's illegal to share our experience with others. You can get you into trouble with regulators. So yes, in the past, that was exactly what we were allowed to do, but now the regulators have said we can't. It's actually also in the policies and procedures. So no health claims, no income claims. Please don't say that, Cinderella drank the Kangen water for 2 weeks and all of a sudden she's got perfectly great skin and she fits into her shoes perfect. She's got beautiful hair. Don't say all those things to try and help somebody else want beautiful skin and fit into the perfect shoes and things like that. Okay. And that's also for you guys as well. So these are just some things to be aware of when you're at a trade show. Now, hey, Elizabeth, Rosie, Kate, Clayton. So that's just some information, a table with a table banner. So they're really good. You can find them like a tablecloth. So you don't have to have all these fancy things and spend a lot of money. You can just get started. All that I did when I got started was I just got a black cloth that I covered the table with. And then I went to a graphics place, like a sign writing place, and I got the logo of my company. And I just got them to put that, like heat it on, like a transfer on a t-shirt. And I just had that. That's all I had in the beginning. It was a cheap way to get started and it helped. I chose black because if I spilt anything on there, it wasn't going to damage it. Also, I probably wasn't going to wash the cloth because of that heat logo on. So that's just something to be aware of. So you're going to find your way. The first expo I ever did, or trade show I ever did, I cringe when I look at what the stand and booth was like compared to how I would do them today and all the things that I've got. But it was progression. You've got to start somewhere. And if you just focus on trying to reach perfection, you're never going to achieve it and you're never going to do anything. If your focus is to just get out there and help others, just get out there and just let people see the value and share the information compliantly. So whilst we're on compliance as well, just to let you know that the second Thursday of every month, we have a compliance training, a global compliance training that I co-facilitate with the head of compliance here in Australia. It doesn't matter that it's in Australia, this is a global compliance training because the compliance is pretty much the same all around the world. That's on Thursday morning. So if you want to know more about that, it is in the Enagic Kangen Water Owners group here. and it's on the Your Kangen Waterguy Facebook page. But if you go to enagictraining.com, so www.enagictraining.com, you'll be able to register there. You'll be able to watch past trainings from Joanne and myself, and you'll be able to register for up and coming trainings, especially the one, if you're watching now or tomorrow, and the one on Thursday that's coming. Okay, so remember, ask your questions on these live calls. This is what it's about. So a few more questions that have come through. Marissa asked, what happens when you heat up Kangen water? Does it lose or keep its properties? So when you heat it up, it will lose its properties. Okay, now the idea of this is that you can make hot drinks with Kangen water, you can cook with Kangen water, but naturally when you speed something up, so when you heat something, it speeds up, the molecular structure speeds up. Therefore, that's why we get steam, we get the evaporation of water. Well, it actually does affect the properties of Kangen water. Now, negatively, takes the antioxidant value right down. The important thing to be aware of here, though, is that it's better than using your regular source water that before it went through the ionizer. Now, with that in mind, when you go to make, like, let's say a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, you would fill the kettle up with Kangen water to the amount that you are going to use. You wouldn't fill it fully and then boil it once and then come back a couple of hours later, boil it again and then boil it again, because the more you boil it, the more that the health properties are going to go. So just use what you need. That's why we always say the best way to consume Kangen water is to drink it fresh from the machine. As soon as you get it, drink it fresh. It's not going to work for everybody, and I certainly don't do that. You may be aware or not. I travel tour in Australia. I live in a caravan traveling around. The water is gold. You know, if we do a lot of off-grid stuff, so therefore we do not want to be wasting water. So therefore we want to be getting it as fresh as we can and preserving as much as we can. So this is one of my bottles here. It's a litre, so I fill that up and then I'll drink from it. So that's going to, I did have a 4-litre bottle that I got from Enagic, but I dropped it and smashed it. So unfortunately they don't bounce. So there's that around that. Then the same, Marissa asked also, is it better to drink Kangen water cold? When we say cold, I've done quite a lot of research around this, and there's information out there, and I'm still trying to figure out whether it's opinions. It's a hard one to know. But when we say cold from the cold tap is okay. But I believe, based on what information I've read, really cold water from the fridge is believed, I've not seen any evidence, but it's believed to slow down your immune system. Now, I've also spoke to somebody who's got a PhD in physics and knows all about chemistry, and said that there's no way that can happen. But there's a lot of information also that I've read that said it will. So I think what's important here is whatever you really enjoy. If you really enjoy cold water over like room temperature, then probably it's going to be better for you in the fact that you really enjoy it more energetically. It's going to be more beneficial to you. Whereas if you don't, you prefer it, room temperature, then do it at that. So it just comes down to what you prefer, because I've not seen any proven peer-reviewed evidence that it does slow down the immune system if it's too cold. So just bear in that. So then the next question from Marissa, which I suppose is following, and what's the best water temperature for the machine to work properly? If the water's hot, that's actually going to damage the filter. It will help break down the filter quicker. So you don't want the water going hot. That's why if you run hot water through it, there's actually a warning that says hot water warning, please, stop. And if you happen to do that just while I'm here, turn the water off. So turn the tap off, let the water drain out your ionizer, turn the diverter back so the water's going to come out the tap rather than going through your ionizer. Put the water to cold, so that when the water is then coming through cold and you feel it cold, then put it through the ionizer. Okay, but once all the water in the ionizer is drained out, so that means all the hot water is gone, then there's going to be cold going through, because you will damage the filter. And if it's really hot and run for a continuous amount of time, it could damage the plates. It could. Okay, not will, it could, it may do. So that's just some information there. Cold water from the tap, if it's really cold, I've not found or experienced it doing anything negative, but I know hot water does. Okay, so Brenda, lovely to have you with us. Brenda here says, your recent YouTube video on compliance was very helpful. I shared it with my dad as we both just became distributors at the end of November. Welcome to the community, Brenda, and your father. And I'm glad that that video was helpful. It was certainly helpful for myself when I was going through creating it. Even though I've been a distributor for almost 7 years now, the policies and procedures can be quite hard to understand. I really struggled with them, so I had to take my time to break them all down through a lot of conversations with the head of compliance and doing a lot of trainings around that stuff. Then we've managed to, my focus was to just try and simplify them, but give the people the basics as you coming in to help you move forward. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of distributors out there that are unconsciously, and as I say in the video, unconsciously doing the wrong thing. So if we're unconsciously doing it, we're not aware we need to improve. Unfortunately, there are some that are doing it consciously, and Enagic are addressing those to protect Enagic as a company and naturally all of us as distributors. So Elizabeth has asked here, lovely to have you with us, Elizabeth. If we start seeing less bubbles in the water, is it due to an e-clean? My e-clean seem to last less and less, doing every 2 weeks. I'm concerned we need another type of pre-filled. We have well water and I live in Thailand. Okay, so Kangen water is not the best water in the world. Oh my gosh, that's what I was told. No, Kangen water is only as good as the source water. Think about that. If your source water is full of dirt, chemicals, heavy metals, VOCs, the fluoride debate, then it's only good. Kangen water is only going to be as good as the source water that's entering it. Now, this is where I'll go into more detail around this. As the water enters the ionizer, it gets filtered. The Enagic filter removes chlorine, sediment, odor, and rust. That's what the Enagic filter, standard filter, removes: chlorine, sediment, odor, and rust. Okay. Now then, if you want any more than that removed from your Enagic ionizer or from your source water, you're going to need pre-filtration. Okay, there's a link in here. You can go to my website at yourkangenwaterguy.com. I've got a whole page that educates on filtration and goes through the different waters. So in your case, Elizabeth, around we have well water, I believe all water sources should be pre-filtered. Now, in the beginning, I was drinking town water that was going through the ionizer because everything that I read online from chemists, doctors, and so on was saying how the ionization process would remove fluoride, certain chemicals. That is not true. Okay, that is not true. That is somebody's opinion based on chemical evaluation. I spent almost $1,000 having my town water tested, town water through the Enagic Ka ionizer, town water through the pre-filter, and then the Ka ionizer. Okay, and it showed that the only time fluoride was reduced, in particular fluoride was reduced, was when it went through the pre-filter. But all the stuff online from the chemists was saying that through ionization, it would actually put it out the bottom hose. Not true. So this is why it's so important to be aware of the information you're receiving. Ask for proof. So in my YouTube videos, especially when I talk around pre-filtration, I show some of the lab report. The reason why it cost almost $1,000 was because I had 3 different waters tested. I poured them that day. I took them straight to the testing facility, which I found on Google. It's 30 minutes from me. They tested and gave me a full report that day. So that's why it cost me more money, because I was priority over everybody else. I didn't have to wait a week or 2 weeks. So these are just some things to be aware of. I always advise well water is pre-filtered. Just think of the cleaner your source water goes through your ionizer, the cleaner and healthier the Kangen water is going to be. And for most people, they've invested in an Enagic ionizer for the Kangen water, particularly for that water, not necessarily for the other waters, particularly for the Kangen water. So and I know you might be like, oh, so I need something else. it's your body, it's your health, it's the most valuable asset you own. And if you've got family members, a partner, children, grandchildren, think about their health. You want to make sure the most important and valuable nutrition that we need to be consuming, water, is at the best it's going to be. Okay, so I have pre-filtration now. I mentioned that I live in a caravan, a tour around Australia. We get different source waters. Could be on town water, we could be on bore water. I have different filters. I have one kit, one twin kit, and I just exchange the filters as and when I need to. If we're at Beth, my partner's family farm, we're on rainwater there. So we just change it out for the rainwater pre-filter. So, and people go, oh, rainwater, it's so clean. The environment that we live in is not clean. The tanks that the water's stored in, the roof that it passes along, the gutters that it passes along are not clean. So pre-filtering our source water is not only going to help protect and reduce stress to the ionizer if we want it to last over 20 plus years, which is what a lot of the distributors out there will say, then we also want to make sure that it's not only protecting the ionizer, but the water we're consuming that we're getting is of the utmost value. So just to be aware of around that. Oh, I see you freaked out a bit there, Elizabeth, and then realized what I was saying. Yeah, everything about it is based on your source water. I bought the 3-tube pre-filter from Enagic here, used from the start. Fantastic. Good to know you've got a pre-filter. I do talk more about it. I'm not sure on the 3-tube pre-filter. I know the 2-tube. I think I've seen the 3-1, but only in the US or in Canada. So, but thank you for sharing on that. In regards to, if we start seeing less bubbles in the water, is it due to an e-clean? So I'm just going to highlight this, Elizabeth, and put it in the questions, because I want to make sure that I have all the questions here and I don't miss anybody. Okay, good. Now, the bubbles, okay, sometimes people get a lot of bubbles in the water, which is actually the H2 gas leaving the water. So H2, which we class as the antioxidant value, is a gas. And sometimes, and the naked eye can't see all of it, but when it's extremely strong, it's going to be seen and it's going to dissipate. So you're going to see it from the bottom of the glass just coming up and leaving the water. Don't worry too much about it. In fact, I would say don't worry about it at all. Sometimes I pour the water and I don't even see any of it. And it could be after an e-clean, it could be 2 weeks later, or just as I'm about to do an e-clean. Don't see any. Sometimes I do. A lot of it's down to the source water, the quality of that source water. But I've also seen, like, for instance, the level of car, which is discontinued now. I've seen that produce extreme lot amount of bubbles, and it's only a 3-plate machine versus a 501 with a 7-plate machine, not getting anywhere near as many. I wouldn't necessarily worry about it, because when I've put the ORP meter, the ORP reading has actually been higher in the SD501 Kangen water. So what I've found over the years is that people tend to get caught up a lot in regards to, they tend to get caught up a lot in regards to, oh, well, I should have this and somebody else has got this, so I should have this, and so on. And it's not always the case. There's so many factors. There's also a factor of how slow the water was poured. These are factors, variables. How slow the water was poured, or how fast. If it's fast, you're not going to get anywhere near as many. The temperature of the water. There's just so much. Okay, pre-filtration and so on. That's going to be in there. How long ago was the ionizer cleaned? Too many variables. So I wouldn't necessarily get caught up in it all, but I'd definitely just be aware of it. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, good. So in regards to those questions, that's all answered. So what is a good response to somebody that tells you the water tastes the same as the tank water? Okay. So with this one, I've done actually one of the biggest expos here, or trade shows here, is called the Garden Festival. And naturally, I'm there with my gazebo, the waters, and a lot of the people that go to the Garden Expo are farmers, or they live out in the country, or they're on tank water, they're on rainwater. So naturally, the conception that people have, which I'd say is a misconception, is that rainwater is healthy. Yes, rainwater is better than possibly town water because it hasn't had a lot of chemicals dumped into it and so on. It's not channeling through a lot of these pipes, these old pipes and so on. However, the rainwater that we're consuming today is nowhere near as healthy as it was decades ago, because there is more pollution in the atmosphere today. There is cross-contamination taking place. There's farmers, especially out in the country, there's a lot of spraying that's being wind blown across, the rain falls, it's being collected. Those chemicals could be on the roof. You know, these are all things that people will go, oh, come on, just, you know, got to die of something. That's something that I commonly hear, which you just look and go, yes, hopefully it's old age and not actually some kind of illness or disease. But anyway, the focus being then that we're looking at ways to make sure the water we're consuming is better. And if somebody says to me, I drink rainwater, rainwater's great, I say rainwater is definitely better, but rainwater is also an oxidant and it's acidic in many cases. And they're like, what? Because for a lot of people, the conception is, hang on a minute, the water's not been messed around by the government and put through pipes a lot of chemicals in it. So that's their initial thought. And it's softer. So if you wash your hair with it or you feel it, you drink it, it's softer. And people from the country notice this when they come to the town and they drink town water. So when you're communicating with people, the power is in people only believe it when they see it with their own eyes. So this is where it's like you need an ORP meter to do a live test and show them, put it in the rainwater, it'll be an oxidant, put it in the Kangen water, and it's fine. I did a live on the yourkangenwaterguy Facebook page. Unfortunately, because we were out at the farm, signal wasn't great, but it still worked the whole live. And I actually did the testing and I showed that the rainwater was an oxidant, and it was, I think it was just acidic, only just acidic, around about 6 pH. And then I ran it through the ionizer, the K8, pre-filtered, I think, and then K8. And hey, came out blue purple, 9.5. So it just goes to show you the difference then. It came out as an antioxidant on the ORP reading. So visually, the people can see, oh, hang on a minute, wow. And those people I've been able to help who are on rainwater have said that after drinking it for a period of time, they do notice a difference when they don't. Okay, so these are just some things to be aware of. Just make sure this because the sun's blasting through. So hopefully that's not made it too dark in here. I can't tell. So super helpful. Thank you. You're very welcome, Elizabeth. Yeah, that looks all good. So another question that's come through. There's no more questions on this live, it doesn't seem. No, everything seems okay. We're just going to check here. Yeah, okay, so okay, so another question here. How do I like this one. So here we go. Ladies, prepare yourself. How do I sell it to my husband? He says it's a con, but also says it probably does work. Wow. So it says it's con, it probably does work. One of the jokes that my business partner and I often said, when bearing in mind that we have helped most of our people that I'd say 99% of people we didn't even know. We just helped through expos. So these are people that are classed in the market as cold leads. And we connected with them, we educated them, and they chose to invest in their own health. Now, we often joked that if we could get rid of the men, that we'd probably be able to help 20% more families, because it's often females who come to the trade shows, the expos, and they are interested in what we say. And based on the female is usually the one that protects the family in regards to nurtures the family, looks after. The male is the one that goes out, finds the food in today's world, earns maybe the money. And I'm please don't judge me here as in saying women do and so on. I'm just using this as an example. So for often the bloke goes, earns the money, comes back and goes, there's the money, I've done my job, and that's it. But then, and this is through the conversations we've had, I don't believe in that. Okay, just I don't believe in that. I believe we're all equal. Well, just to let you know that often the conversations have gone, if it's a couple of $100, I can make a decision. But if it's over $1,000, I must include my partner. Fair enough, not a problem. But what ends up happening is the information that they get shared, that they get told and are educated around, makes sense to them at the trade show, at the expo, when they're speaking to me or my business partner Dave or anybody that we're connected to. Then they go home. Okay, and I'm not saying that all females do this, it's the same, but then people go home, they speak to the partner and they try and regurgitate the information, and the partner's listening and going, water system, thousands of dollars. No. What is wrong with the water from the tap, or the water that you bought this Brita filter, or you've got this filtration system? What's wrong with all this? Why do we now need this? And they don't understand. They don't know why they need it. And often people have explained it. And this is my experience. I've gone to somebody's house and I've sat there, I've taken the unit, I've explained it. And the guy in this example, based on my experience, has turned around to his partner and said, that's not what you said. So it's just been the lady has tried her best to educate her husband, but obviously didn't explain it in the way that I would, or that he needed to hear it. So even though, how do I sell it to my husband? The problem with a lot of people is because the power of the Kangen water is drinking it, they expect a physical change. But nobody can guarantee that you're going to have a physical change, and certainly not in a time frame. Anybody who does say you will experience this is a liar. They're a liar. There's no way anybody can tell you what you're going to experience, because everybody is different. For instance, I've seen people who have drank the water with one ailment, and I'm not going to go into the ailment, who have had incredible results within a day. Within a day. I've also seen different people with the same ailment who haven't experienced anything for several months. So if they go off the person who experienced something in a day, or even maybe say a couple of weeks, their expectation then is that they will experience the same. So just be aware of this, because in this question here, how do I sell it to my husband? He says it's a con, but also says it probably does work. It depends on, is he looking at it, looking at the information and going, this may work? Is he looking at it as a con, as in, there's no way that can take place, there's no way the machine can do that, it's overpriced, or it's got a referral marketing model to it, or MLM? And the problem with for a lot of people is they go and research via Google. So when people research via Google, please understand that Google is a search engine, and it's built up with opinions from people, whether that be on blogs, whether that be, or even peer-reviewed evidence through the likes of PubMed or Google Scholar, but Google or Yahoo, the search engines. And people want to be seen and heard. So it's very easy for people to go out and say the wrong thing, to misinform, to just post something. And what I experienced was my best friend, who my business partner in Enagic, he's a former England athlete of over, I think it was 8 years, won European championships and so on. Now, he was dead against this. He worked with some of the top nutritionists in the UK, top sports athletes in the UK, and sports coaches. And for 6 months, he was dead against Enagic, totally against it, because everything he was researching was saying that it was no good and so on. But he is what I call a Mr. OCR, over compulsive researcher. So he kept researching. And what he found was a lot of the information from doctors, health professionals, bloggers, was actually misinformation that when you dug deeper, they were trying to sell their own water filter or water ionizer, or they were just trying to get more followers to sell programs on different things or books or whatever it would be. So when he actually dived in and went further down the lines, he actually realized that he was wrong. And it's not about necessarily right or wrong, but he realized that his opinion, because his opinion was based on the opinions of others or the agenda of others, that his opinion was being made through those other people. So when he looked at the peer-reviewed evidence around electrolyzed reduced water, around alkaline ionized water, around molecular hydrogen, he came back and said, and all this was from PubMed through Google Scholar, not Google, Google Scholar. He was like, wow. But he also couldn't deny what he was seeing around him in regards to the people that I was sharing the water with were all having a positive experience. I'm not going to go into what they're experiencing, but they were all having a positive experience, and they were all buying the ionizers. They were all buying the ionizers. So 6 months later, he's like, the information that I originally made my opinion on was based on misinformation. The information that I'm now researching and looking into is all peer-reviewed and has a lot of power behind it. So I mean, like, substance behind it, not opinion, substance. And also all these people are having positive experience just from drinking the water and choosing to invest in the products. So that was when he made his decision. And because of him doing that, we have been able together, even though I'm mainly the front guy, we have been able together to help directly thousands and indirectly tens to hundreds of thousands of people because of the information that we've created, and him having faith in me to go out there and educate the world as best I can, the people that I can reach, like the power of that. So I just thought that it's important to share that around. Excuse me. It's important to share that around when you're communicating with your partner or anybody. The information is there, but often the skepticism, and also that's a lot of money, because the only hurdle, the only hurdle that I've experienced with a person that's open-minded to the information is the price. They're like, oh, it's quite expensive. And then they go and do their own research and they look online at other ionizers, and they go, well, this says it does exactly the same thing or even better, and it's a lot less. So, and yours is MLM, so all the money's going into the MLM side. And it's like, is that the truth, or is that what you read on the website? Well, that's what I read on the website, but it sounds right. No. Is that the truth? Well, I don't know. Okay, do you want the truth? People are like, yeah. Okay, this is the truth. How do I know this is the truth? Because has the other person that you read on the website or the other company, did they explain anything around meeting Mr. Oshiro, why he created Enagic, what his vision and mission are? Did any of that mention Enagic? No, it just said about the products. Oh, so you believe then that the product on that company that's, let's just say, a third of the price is, one, the product is as good quality, and the fact that that company doesn't make it in-house, so they have to pay another company. There's a distribution chain that it has to go through before it gets to them, which then they have to pay to market their product, and then it goes to you if you buy it. Do you believe then that that product, that they're possibly only making a very small margin, because from somebody who knows the line, the chain that it goes through from manufacturer through, Enagic are in charge of everything, and they cut out that whole distribution chain so that the money goes back to the people who invest in the product, should they choose to share it with anybody else, their family members, their friends, or as a business with people that they don't know, to help those people. Like, all of this stuff, like, I know all the ins and outs because I went to Japan. I was invited to celebrate Mr. Oshiro's 76th birthday. There he told us the story of why Enagic came to be here, what his vision and mission is, why we are an extension of that. And for a lot of people, and I have to say this was me, before I actually went and heard Mr. Oshiro, my attitude was, I want to help people experience improved health. And in doing that, the way that I do that, the vehicle is I help them purchase their own water ionizers. I had no idea that what I was actually a part of, just by being a customer, irrelevant at the distributor side, just by being a customer, I was helping a man achieve his vision and mission. And he had created a product that was impacting my life and the lives of my family members and so on. I was a part of something so special, so unique. The essence and the energy of that was what I was involved in. The fact that I chose to go out and share it with others, one, is a gift to me, but also a blessing for Mr. Oshiro and for the people who are receiving it. Because I don't have to be a distributor. I do it because of what I've experienced and that I want to help other people. So even though this is an area that might seem strange to you, or you had no understanding around it, every single person who owns an Enagic ionizer, whether they just see themselves as a customer or whether they see themselves as a customer and distributor like myself, every single one is part of the true core essence of what Enagic is here for and why it's here for. And I invite you and encourage you to embrace that and enjoy that. And every morning when you see your ionizer and you're going to fill your glass up or your bottle up or whatever it would be, just say thank you. Because this technology is changing lives. Okay, the motto of Enagic is change your water, change your life, not change your water, change your health. Think of the power of that. Change your water, change your life, because you've entered into something far bigger than just an appliance on the kitchen bench top or in your laundry or caravan, wherever it would be. Okay, so just a few things there around that. One last question before we wrap up this call. So this one's around the waters. So in a nutshell, just because it doesn't read very well, in a nutshell, what is the difference between the waters and why do I need the other waters? The ionizer itself produces 3 levels of Kangen water, 8.5, 9, and 9.5, and each of them have a higher charge. So some people can only consume 8.5. Some people, like myself, 9.5. Now, if somebody's detoxing on 9.5, you probably lower them down to 8.5 because their body isn't used to that level of charged antioxidants, isn't used to a charge going into the body through the water. That might need reducing, might even need to go down to 7 pH clean water. 7 pH clean water is just regular filtered water. It isn't charged. Only the 8.5, 9, and 9.5 are charged water, okay? Then you've got your 6, your beauty unit water. Now, this is an astringent. So this is used basically for, it can be used for cooking, cleaning. It can be used on your skin. We don't drink this water, but it is used for many different applications. I actually did some reels on my yourkangenwaterguy Instagram and Facebook, on Instagram, that I went through some of the different uses. I believe we covered all the uses on the 2-day training that I did that's on my website that people can purchase. And the idea of the intention of that training was to help new distributors and well-seasoned distributors go from point A to point B and beyond. But even if you're at point B and you want to go beyond to help, and there was a lot of great feedback from distributors who've been in Enagic for several years, were blown away with what they learned and the way that I've done things, especially considering most people who step into it as a business are often said, write down everybody you know, and then go to them and tell them. Whereas I just didn't do that at all. I didn't approach any of my family and friends. I bought my mum a K8 and an Esper to help her. My dad and brother weren't interested. I bought my brother actually a unit for his kids and they didn't want it in the house. That's their opinion, that's their beliefs. They don't know anything about this product. They just didn't want it in the house. They said, oh, I don't want that on the bench. So it went to my sister-in-law, not sister-in-law, sorry, stepsister. So who loves it. And then her sister bought one, go figure. So the angle there is that then there's the beauty waters. And then, so the intention was I created that training so that it would help you get as a customer as well. There's a lot of information as a customer, but also as a distributor. And then the cleaning water, so the 2.5 and 11.5. Now, if you look deeper on the 2.5, this is actually an extremely powerful water that can be used, and I've got to be aware around the compliance around here, that can be used for cleaning. I'm not going to go any further than that, but it can be used for cleaning. And in the medical industry, there's a lot of information around this water. You can go and look on peer-reviewed evidence around there. There's information of Enagic, the SD501 Super, which is the big unit, being used in hospitals. There's videos showing that and so on. And it's mainly around the 2.5, the 11.5 for degreasing, getting the chemicals off your fruits and vegetables. So this is where it's really important to be aware of the way that people communicate when they're either, they believe Enagic is an expensive filter. Somebody commented on one of my YouTube videos, it's just an expensive filter. And I said, well, that would be true if the ionization wasn't involved and it was just going through the filter. But the Enagic ionizers are not Enagic filters. They're Enagic ionizers. The filter is just there to help clean out any contaminants, more so metals, bits of rock or anything from damaging the electrolysis chamber, the plates, between the plates. That's what they're mainly there for. So you're actually paying for the fact that if you only got filtered water, fair enough, but you actually get several different waters for different uses. And I've seen some incredible things happen with some of those other waters aside of Kangen water. Incredible things happen that I won't go into because of compliance. But this is the problem. Too many people have too much to say, and what they say has no substance to it. It's just their opinion. They want to be heard, they want to be seen, and therefore people who maybe follow them or believe what they say will naturally then make their own opinion based on misinformation. Hence why yourkangenwaterguy brand was born, to debunk the misinformation from doctors, health professionals, the general public, but also to share the truth about Enagic and Kangen water so that people could make an educated decision. So I just want to wrap this up now and thank you all for your time, your value, everything that's shared, just even you being on this call energetically, whether you're watching the live, whether you're on the replay. Please drop in what is the biggest takeaway that you've had from this call, just so I know what you've received, and then I can be looking at those areas to maybe elaborate on for future trainings. We will be doing future trainings in this group. Not sure how often at the moment. Whilst we tour, we don't always have signal. And obviously it's that time of year right now. It's getting into time with your family or your friends or whatever it would be for yourself. So once again, thank you all. Anybody you know who owns an Enagic product, invite them to join the group. Let them know, if you're just going to hit the invite button, let them know you've invited them so that they accept the invitation. And together we can make this group become so much more powerful and really support those people who own the product, even as just a customer, or as us all as customers and distributors as well. Thank you for your time. Go and enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now. Enjoying my YouTube channel? Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell to receive further value.